my students go into Spark Post and they created Get Well cards, actually distributed to a hospital in New York. There are a lot of really great activities that you can have kids doing. The next thing I had them do, create thank you cards for the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics. And so I thought, what better way to say thank you than for children to get involved? And so this is something you can just literally take and use with your kids tomorrow. Aww. Thanks for having me today. Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be on live with you today on all channels. My name is Tanya Avrith, and I am the Education Evangelist at Adobe. And I just left the classroom about 6 months ago. So being an evangelist at Adobe is very, very new. I was teaching a high school class called Personal Branding and Digital Communication until July. And so I'm really happy to be here and share a little bit about Adobe Spark and thinking about ways that we can be using it for learning.
So I'm gonna talk through here. I think we're good. Can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes.
I can hear you, yes. Perfect. Let me know on the internets if anyone can't hear me. We're doing a lot of streaming here. It's so exciting. All right, well, first I wanted to talk to you because I think you're in a very similar position with a lot of people finding themselves having to creatively adapt to our new normal of #quarantine life, I like to call it.
Yes.
So how have things impacted you specifically?
So I've definitely been very busy in the last few weeks. You know, as all of us who work in ed tech, we're definitely being used. There's a need for our skill set. So we've been very busy. We are working a lot with schools and districts and trying to figure out the best ways that we can use technology more effectively for students who are learning now at home.
Yes, and you have a couple students learning from your home as well, I understand.
I do. I have an 8-year-old son and I have an actually she just turned 12, so a 12-year-old daughter, so a 3rd grader and a 6th grader at home.
Wow. So it's full school time over there, isn't it?
It really is. And I'm balancing, like so many of you, my children's schoolwork and their and my homework, my own work, right?
Right.
And I was saying to you, you know, we spoke yesterday, I was saying, like, I feel like I'm doing a pretty terrible job at almost everything, almost all the time. However, I'm probably focused more on my job right now, unfortunately, than I am my own kids. But I think that's probably a reality for so many of you who might be watching, who have children and work and are trying to balance both.
Exactly. That's so relatable. I don't think anyone, I think I said this on our first stream, I don't think anyone feels right now like they are particularly thriving. So that's I love hearing that because I know in my own ways, I don't have kids or students in my home, but I know in my own ways, I definitely am like, it could be better, but being gentle with oneself right now is pretty important.
Well, and also to be gentle with yourself, but also to like at first I thought I was going to be this super mom, like, oh yeah, I'm going to do all this with my kids. I'm going to get that. Oh yeah, we're going to do like project-based learning and I'm going to get them to do all this stuff. And then I think by 3rd day, I was like, I don't think I can be a teacher for my children. Like, I don't think that is going to work one bit. I'm the worst teacher for my kids. They are going to hate me. I'm going to be like, they'll never want to talk to me. So and I'm a teacher. I mean, this is what I do. I think it's so much harder to teach your own children. And even with skills and understanding of how kids learn, I'm still struggling with my own kids.
Isn't that wild? Like, my first thought was, because I also have a friend who's a teacher as well. Well, she has an infant, so he's not getting the benefits of that right at this moment. But it was my first thought. I was like, wow, like everyone who has a teacher in the home must be so lucky because they get to continue with their education. And I'm glad to hear the reality of like, no, it's different when it's your own kids, and it's challenging regardless of your skill set coming into this.
It is challenging regardless of your skill sets. And I think the best advice I can give to parents is to just like focus on social emotional learning of your, like the social emotional side of anything you do with your kids. Like, what do you want your kids to remember about this time while they were home with you?
Oh,
right?
That's really beautiful. Wait, I'm going to write that down.
But it's true. Like, we want our kids to remember this time as a time that didn't feel so scary, that like, you know, the time spent together should be memorable. And like, I have to admit, and I'm not perfect, like my first week with my kids, like I think by by the end of the week, I thought like, oh my God, I'm like the worst mother on the planet, because it was super stressful. I felt like I was yelling all the time. They were like they were like so on like edge, because this is a really stressful time for everybody right now.
Yes.
And like, there's, you know, I think I read, like, I think there's, was it 16 or 17 million people that have applied for unemployment, right? This is a scary time for people. And I think that it's really important to remember that for your children, it's equally scary, and they see your stress. So, you know, the educator in me wants to say like, yes, of course, there's all these things we can do, but number one, let's focus on their emotional well-being and see how we can help them first in that regard.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many things to say about that, but oh goodness. But that's why we're gonna have you on for multiple, because we have too many things to talk about that can only fit into this one live. Someone asked, are we just talking, or are we gonna show you something? Of course we're gonna show you something. What do you think we're doing here? Tanya is going to show you some amazing project ideas and other ways that you can use Spark to solve for some of these transitional, you know, what's the word? Transitional adjustment kinks. We're going to work out the kinks with Spark.
Absolutely. So while I'm setting that up, let me tell you a little bit about my previous role and some of the work that I've been doing recently with students. So I have been teaching a class, a remote class on digital literacy, that I'm going to share some ideas that I've been working on with kids, and these ideas for how you can use Spark with your kids are pretty fun, and I think that they could be really kind of a break from some of the other things that are happening in your class. So, well, in their classes. So first of all, for those of you who are not necessarily totally familiar with Adobe Spark in general, I know you're following this right now and you're watching, but like for Adobe Spark in schools, there are many schools that have access to Spark through their school district, which is really exciting. So a lot of children might have access. If not, then this is something that you would do with your children. Obviously, you have to create an account, and it's something that you would have to do for children under 13. But there are a lot of really great activities that you can have kids doing. And one of the things that I love teaching kids is how they can use post, video, and page to do things that you might not necessarily think of doing around the house. So one of the things that we were talking about yesterday, some ideas that you can actually do in your home is, if you are working at home with your kids and trying to figure out like fun activities for school, think about some of the things that they can do with Spark Video and Page. that you could do as a family. So one of the things that I really recommend is having your kids work with you and create a family recipe book. So this is like a small little thing that really could be a ton of fun. So you can create these family recipes. Like I was thinking, like reach out to to the grandparents. Think about like some of your favorite recipes right now. And this is like a time where we're home. If you can get access to these recipes, and as a family starts to create some of them. So you could digitize them with Spark Video and have your kids pull those recipes and then explain the recipes, and even show, if you have a camera, you can record little snippets and create a little video of those recipes. And this is a great math activity. This is something that you can do as a family. And then you can pull that into a page and then create all of the recipes in one place so that you can share that as a family memory for all of the family recipes that you have. So that was one of the things that I was thinking about doing this weekend with my kids. Another thing I'll be doing this weekend with my kids is I have been collecting their artwork since they are 3 years old, and it is sitting inside the garage right now. I don't judge. Inside this like full like folder that's like haphazard, like really not so great portfolio. And I'm going to be pulling out all of their artwork, taking pictures of all of their artwork and pulling them into an Adobe page and curating them into a portfolio over the weekend. So next time I come out, I will have that to show, because that's what I'm working on this weekend.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. My mom is currently asking me to come get my artwork out of the garage. And I'm like, well, what are we supposed to do with it? That's genius. Like, digitize it, make it in a portfolio so that you can always access it and have it.
Oh, totally. And I think that it's something that you definitely want to be doing. Like, this is the time, you're home. It's like cleaning out your drawers. The next thing is cleaning out the kids' artwork, right? Like, now is the right time to do that. So some of the activities that I've been working on with some of my students have been really fun and exciting. And I'm going to share my screen right now so I can share one in particular that I think would be a really excellent activity that you can do literally when you get off this call with your children right now. So I'm going to just share my screen. And sure, here we go. So I'm going to just share this little screen. Here we go. Okay, so I had my students create these really beautiful thank you and get well cards. So when we think about like our kids and people that are sick right now, and we think like, what can we do, right? Like, I really feel like with my children, this is a conversation that is like very hard for them to understand. They hear snippets of the news. It's really scary for them.
It's really scary, yeah, in general, but for kids, I can't even imagine like what they're thinking.
Right. They hear think like adult talk without context. So they hear death, they hear sickness. So we try to keep the news in our home at a minimum. So I know, I wonder like, what are some of the conversations that perhaps some of you are having with your children, and I'd love to see, you know, how you are approaching that with your kids, that conversation. But one of the things, and it's hard to see on Instagram, here we go, let me try to show my screen here. So do you see it?
A little bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there it is. And then you can pull out just a little bit so we can see the whole frame.
How about that?
Perfect.
Okay, so we have, like, I've been asking like the kids, like, what can we do to help? So one of the things that I had students do, or like, and including my own children, and I don't know if you can see this, is I had them go into Spark Posts and they created get well cards. And these cards were actually distributed to a hospital in New York for, yeah. So it was something we did with the Adobe Spark team. So they had posted it in our, like, we have a Slack channel at Adobe, and they had posted it in the Slack channel, and they were saying, like, let's do this and send this out to all of these like sick people, and there was children to adults who are really sick in the hospital, to have an opportunity to share some hope. And so I had the students create these beautiful cards. These cards were actually distributed to a hospital in New York to get them online, to learn a little bit about creativity and creation, and also to contribute to the community.
Exactly.
So that was one thing. And then the next thing I had them do was I had them create these thank you cards. And these thank you cards are for the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics. And so I thought, what better way to say thank you than to at least create some thanks for those who are helping us in this time of need. And so that's something that I think would be really a great activity for children to get involved, something that they feel like they can do.
Exactly. They can feel active in the situation and like they are able to contribute, like you said.
I'm going to share this, by the way, in our, I'll share this on the Twitter feed afterwards. So like I'll post it on Twitter so you can have access to this lesson, and it has, all the little tutorial videos of how to get started on post. And so this is something you can just literally take and use with your kids tomorrow. So it's a little activity to get them going.
Amazing. Yes. And it's a holiday weekend coming up too. So this is just a great way to make cards and have fun and just, get into it.
Totally.
All right. These go by so fast. I want to take a few questions that are coming in, especially from our Instagram channel. Let me scroll up and see what we have. So many. And just wonderful comments. People are saying, like, the cards are so beautiful, Tanya.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, the ones that the kids made were spectacular. And it was really a great timing, too, because here, I'm just putting this back in here. Mm-hmm. I like how real these shows are, right?
Oh, you froze a little bit on our Instagram here. There you are.
Yes.
You said you
like, so I like how real these get. Like they're like happening in real time. You're really seeing like the back end.
You can't write this stuff down. It's just we're here.
My
comments all around.
My boss right now has been sick, and the students I work with, they created cards also that we sent to him, and as he's getting better in the hospital. So it really is, it does cheer people up to get these cards, especially made by kids.
Yes, it's just so spirit lifting right now. Let's see. I thought I saw someone say that they don't have Spark video on their phone. So I'm going to say I can't add video on my Spark, which you should be able to. Even on Android, you can add 15 seconds of video now to Spark Post. So let us know if you're still having issues. Send us a private message.
You should be able to, because well, not just in Post, but I mean, you can always do
Spark
video in Spark Video.
Not an Android.
Yeah, so you just need to download the Spark Video app. But you should be able to create some animations through your posts on Spark Post.
Exactly. Like I was just watching one of the Spark Max talks from 2019. And Lisa Bogosian, our video product manager, actually said, like, video doesn't always have to be necessarily like you're shooting and it's a camera and it's people and it's all the things, like movement on social media when you're scrolling, that is what captures attention. So, open up the mind to the different types of video that exist, and we can definitely create that in Spark.
Oh, totally. I also like just having a visual that has consistency that you can use also to tag people that might help elevate your post is super helpful as well. Just a little social media tip.
Always social media tips.
Yeah, just I'll have like a little like a post, like even if it's not necessarily just a graphic, but if I'm using a post, I can tag people in Twitter that I know will find it relevant, who also might share it. And that's how very often I'm able to get people to spread the message that I want to be seen.
Ooh, yeah, and you have an amazing Twitter following. So, I mean, listen to this one about Twitter. It's really
Well,
impressive.
it's really about giving people something that they find useful, right?
And that's all social media is today. Like, what can we help you with? Like, really, truly.
No, really, truly, like, what can we help you with? That's what we're here for. I want people who are following today to understand that that is like our job right now. You, Courtney, myself, like, we're here to help. That's where, and social media is the best place for you to connect with us. And I know so many of you are figuring out what that's going to look like for your children. What does learning look like for your children? And I want you to feel really comfortable to send me a tweet and let me know how I can help you. What are some questions that you might have? I might be able to give you some ideas, some resources, something that you might be able to use for your children during this time where they're home. So you'll be on the lookout, because all of these lessons that I've been talking about, in about a week or two, I'm just right now finishing them up and repackaging them. They're going to be available for anyone to use. So yeah, so all of those, and they're not just for, like, yes, they're for schools or for teachers, but if you are at home with your children and you want to use them as a parent, you can definitely go ahead and go through them, and they're self-explanatory because they have tutorial videos throughout the way, so you can participate in using them as well. So be on the lookout, follow me, because I'll be sharing them in the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. And then our Kim 312 asked, infographic ideas for kids and students to use with Adobe Spark. I'm a teacher for the 9th grade lesson planning. I mean,
sorry, what was the question, Courtney?
Do you have any infographic ideas for kids and students to use with Spark?
Yes, actually I do. So, well, there's infographic, like you can have kids, break down concepts and synthesize their understanding using like timelines, or there's that. But another thing you can do with posts, which is really fun, is have them create comics. I've seen this done. Yeah, I've seen this done, and it's a lot of fun, right? Because they can use in Spark posts, they can create different layouts, and some of the layouts are like adding different images inside, and then you would just be able to add little text boxes. So that's a really great way for kids to synthesize their understanding of concepts that they're learning and visualize those and add paired text to images. So that's like a lot of critical thinking. So
and storytelling.
Sorry?
And they have to storytell.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and then they can embed those into a page. So pull those into a page, create a comic book and a page, but like have it as a story. And oh my God, there's so much you could do. They can get super creative.
I know, because they'll remix the assignment anyway, because that's what kids these days are so used to, like remixing an idea that's already been put out there. So let creativity fly. Yes, storytelling is key. Yes. Write that down. Okay, we're gonna wrap up shortly. So any last questions that we could quickly answer? And then Adobe is doing a special series, or just highlighting the way that we have set up our workspaces at home. So I wonder, Tanya, would you mind sharing your workspace with us?
Sure. Yes. Well, it'll probably be easier on Instagram.
Yeah, you can lift them up and move them around.
Yeah, no, I can do that. Okay, I'm kind of embarrassed right now, so don't judge, because it's a bit of a mess because I moved everything over. But here we go.
Ready. All right, we're coming back.
Okay, so all right, here we go. So here is my desk. So this is how I have my desk set up. Here's my desk.
Nice, second screen. Oh, and it's facing the window. How lovely. So you get natural good light for your setup too.
I have a chair on the side with some lights.
Beautiful.
And
wow.
then this is where I get organized and creative. So I have my blackboards and whiteboards over here.
Yes.
Here are my diplomas, all the conferences that I have presented at over the years.
Nice. I saved my
very embarrassingly messy place where I stick everything in. And then this is my tech wall of fame. So it's
your tech wall of things. Very organized. Very
I try. So that is my office, my space. So that is where I get creative and where I work most of my days. I definitely want to do one thing before we get off. I want to give a shout out to my education team at Adobe. Yes, and so Clara Galan, she's Miss Clara Galan on Twitter, and myself, every Thursday we do a live stream show on Adobe for EDU on Twitter and the Adobe for Education Facebook group. And we stream there every day at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, so 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, and we have a show going on there every single Thursday. So please feel free to come. We have great guests lined up for the next few months, and we tackle all kinds of topics around education.
That sounds amazing. I can't wait to tune in. Yay! I'm gonna flip someone asked you, what are on those Post-it notes?
Which ones?
I know. Wait,
so those ones back there, actually, those I never moved. That's a good question. Those I never moved because I wrote a book a few years ago. So this is the book. And when we were writing the book, those Post-it notes were the foundation of what the book became. When I was brainstorming out what the book would be, that's where I put it and I never removed it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Post-it notes are so good for brainstorming here. I'm just gonna flip my setup around so you guys can see. I've got my lights. I had to decide between like a dining room. There's my whiteboards and all kinds of goodness, like a boss, to remind myself. I'm gonna come back on the Twitters, you guys, and give you guys the grand tour, but
I love that wall. Did you paint that wall yourself?
No, these are decals from Urban Wall Decals. I was just looking for like a particular style, basically. And okay, I'm coming back, you
guys. See, I gotta get better lighting. That's what I need to work on. That's what I'm doing next. Getting some better lighting. It is
definitely worth the investment. Here, you guys on Twitter. I'm just gonna give you guys a good little spin here of my creative workspace. Just got Twitter up, got my lights. And then if we rotate this way, you can see more of my wall. My kitchen is right next to me, so we won't.
It's super cute. I love that wall.
Thank you. Printer, files, water, all the good stuff. I had this set up honestly before we had to go into quarantine, just because I work from home usually.
Yes.
And then when I was looking for my apartment, because I'm new to LA, I looked for a space where I could have this office space. And then it converts really easily for when I'm trying to do like self-tapes for auditions, and I can put up my backdrop. It's just lovely.
Oh wow! Well, it looks beautiful. I'm gonna be working on that. I wonder what your work from home looks like. I think that would be great for people to share that. Like, if maybe they can share that underneath, or I know that.
Yeah, let us know what your spaces look like for sure. Actually, and if you're on Facebook or Twitter, take a picture of your workspace so we can share it out, because we're wanting to know what everyone's doing to.
Yes, and also if you have any great tips for any kind of like, right now I've been thinking about getting like a better camera or lights. Like, if any of you have strategies or tips, share those. I'm sure other people are kind of curious to know what you're using to make your your video conferences more beautiful as well.
Exactly. Okay, well, we're right on time now. So thank you again so much, Tanya, for joining us today. I think everyone's loving what you had to share, what you're going to continue to share. Velkeeta Redding says, really cool workspaces the two of you have. Thank you, Val. You're the best. You know that. All right.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to all you beautiful people, and keep up the good work. I know this is really hard for those teachers watching. You're warriors, and we appreciate everything you're doing. And for those parent teachers right now, you're warriors too. and go easy on yourself. It's okay.
Yes, be gentle. social, what did you call it? Focus on social emotional learning. I really, really like that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, then have a wonderful rest of the day. Have a great weekend, everybody, and be safe out there. And we'll see you again on Tuesday. We have product manager Veronica Belmont coming on. So you're definitely not going to want to miss this one. She's hilarious. So we'll talk to you all then.
See you soon.
Bye.